Hi everybody, it's Christian here. Today I want to talk to you about a story called Pegasus. Pegasus refers to a global spyware program that was developed by an Israeli company, and it was the focus of a Frontline two-part documentary series that came out earlier this year. I watched the documentary and I was pretty alarmed at what I found. So if you like this information, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get more news like this talking about data privacy and why data rights are human rights. So earlier this year, Frontline published a two-part documentary series talking about a global spyware program. It was a spyware called Pegasus. Now, Pegasus was developed specifically to spy on people, and it had a couple of features about it that made it really, really interesting. Number one, it came from Israel. Now, what a lot of people don't know about Israel is that it's considered the most surveilled nation state in the world. And many will know that Israeli has a 2-year mandatory military service. And what they use this service to do partially is to screen out talent from their demography, from their population, for people that have strengths in different areas. One such area is software and cybersecurity. So if you go into Israel's mandatory military service and you demonstrate a knowledge of software and the ability to write code or write spyware, they'll encourage you after your service to stay close and stay friendly with the government. They often will help you and support you in starting your own business. And the idea is that if you end up creating a product that is useful to the country, well, they might use that for geopolitical reasons and other things. Unfortunately, that's what's indicated in this story. So let's talk about the company itself. The company is called the NSO Group, and its founders did serve in the nation's military and were tapped as being especially proficient at software and spyware. They launched a company shortly after leaving, and the company, after a few years, developed a product called Pegasus. Now, Pegasus was a spyware that once it got on the target's phone or laptop, would surveil everything they did and send it back to the source. Now that means that any protective measure you're using, like a VPN or encrypted apps like WhatsApp or Signal, really aren't going to help you, because the software is actually recording your screen. It's reporting everything that you do on your screen. So it's seeing your messages, it's seeing any of your health apps reporting certain health metrics, it's seeing your financial transactions. So it's reporting back if you've had a fight with a loved one. It's reporting back if your heart rate has been a little high. It's reporting back where you're going, your travel plans. Now, it turns out this spyware has been implicated in a number of high-profile murders and disappearances. The one of note that really caught my attention was Saudi journalist and activist Jamal Khashoggi, who was famously murdered a few years back, and obviously was being, before his murder, was very outspoken against the Saudi prince Mohammed bin Salman, and was receiving a lot of trouble for trying to speak out against violations, human rights violations by the leader. Now, it turns out this software, this spyware, was found on his wife's phone after he was murdered. And it was found on the friends and family's phones, mobile phones, of a lot of other people of interest who have disappeared or have been murdered, and that were often considered somewhat enemies of the state in which they resided. Now, here's the really critical thing to understand about Pegasus. It had a high click rate. So anybody with even a cursory understanding of spyware knows that in order for the spyware to infect your phone, you have to usually click a link, and that initiates the infection. If you don't click the link, it's really hard to get that on your mobile device or your laptop unless somebody breaks into your house and puts it there. And the really tricky thing is that once it's there, you won't know about it. You won't see it. There's no indication that it's even on your phone recording everything that you do. But here's what they did to achieve that click rate. The NSO Group did a public scrape of all of your data. So any data that you have that's public, and we've talked about this before, your digital footprint, your interactions on social media apps, financial transactions, geolocational information, they would gather all this data on a target, and then they would send you a message or an email that was so personalized to your interests or anything going on in your life that you would probably click it. Now, this is the point that we have to understand. Our digital footprint is leaving all these breadcrumbs about us, and if there are interested parties or software that want to have that information, once they have it, they can do something really predictive, like send you a message that you're likely going to open, and once you do, it puts this really terrible virus on your phone that's recording you and you don't even know about it. Now, this is a private company that started this software, but they've sold this thing to countries all over the world, and their client list is pretty profound. So it's yet another example of what happens when we're just leaving all this public information on the internet for anyone to gather and do what they will with. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have quite a happy ending. The company, when asked for comment by Frontline, basically denied any allegations. And so we seem to be far away from justice on this. But it's important to stay aware of what you're doing online and to do what you can to protect yourself and to make sure that the elected leaders that you have access to or that you can influence know about things like this and are offering policy to help protect citizens against these kinds of things. So stay tuned and we'll bring you more stories soon.
TAO of Data.